Hello everybody, Big Planes here, and today I have an update video for my custom LEGO Air Force One 707 model. Now, before I get into the video, real crux of this video where I go over all the progress that I've made to the model, I would like to address this new video format that I am using. And so yes, I'm more face-to-face now. I want to try this new video format and see how it works. I want to maybe get a little bit better engagement with my audience. So yeah, let me know how you feel about this new video format in the comment section below. I will be sure to read those. And also, before I get into the progress for the plane, I would like to give a shout out and a thanks to all the people who support the channel over on Patreon. Of course, thank you to everybody over on Patreon who helps us support the channel. You guys are one of the main reasons why, well, I'm able to build these things. So yeah, if you want to go support the channel over on Patreon, I will leave a link in the description below. So yeah, big update video today for the Air Force One 707. And I said in the last video that I was aiming to have the wings done for this video, and I'm happy to report that that is exactly what I have been able to do. The wings are now completely finished on this model, even up to the little antennae on the wing tips. Those are all in and complete. I have mounted the engines, and I am happy to report the thing stands up. It does not collapse. It is being supported on its own landing gear. I kind of got tongue twisted there for a minute. It's being supported on its own landing gear, and everything so far is going along very smoothly. So I'm going to sort of go over some of the things that I've done and some of the reasons why I did certain things, and hopefully give you guys a little bit better of an understanding as to how I built this plane and what I'll be doing going forward. So the first thing I want to talk about is just the quirks and the sort of oddities of the 707 as a plane in general. So typically, narrow-body airliners will have a long fuselage and a relatively thin aerodynamic wing. It's, I believe, a supercritical airfoil. The aerospace engineers in the comment section, I'm sure, will correct me, but what I'm basically saying is newer airplanes have very efficient wings that work at the speeds they were required to run at, whereas older jets from the 1950s and 1960s tended to have very large wings and very swept back wings, whether it was due to the limited aerodynamic data they had at the time or just the less powerful engines, or a combination of both. So basically what you end up with is a plane that has a narrow body fuselage, so 12 studs wide, and a wing that's huge, a wing that would be more fitting for a 767, maybe not quite that large, but you get what I'm saying. The wing on this plane is very big. And so some of the challenges that this brings is that, one, it just takes longer to build the wing, and two, the wing is larger, so you have to fit the wing box structure, all of that fun stuff. You have to fit all of that into a 12-stud wide narrow body fuselage. So that is one of the things that I had to contend with when I was building this thing, was that I didn't have a lot of room to fit a lot of the required wing box parts in, you know, the stuff that holds the dihedral, all of that fun stuff. And this also goes hand in hand with the second sort of quirk of this plane, which I guess goes to show how it was over-engineered for the time in which it was built, but that is the landing gear. So I think I covered this in the last video, but most narrow-body jets have 2 wheels per bogie, and those fold directly into the wheel well, whereas on the 707, the 707 has 4 wheels per bogie. So this more had to do with the planes were a little bit larger, going back to that larger wing, but also they were a little bit more over-engineered. So this is challenging for me because I have to fit what is essentially a wide-body landing gear assembly into a narrow body. So the tolerances are a little bit tighter than they would normally be, but I'm very happy to report that I was able to fit retracting undercarriage and retracting landing gear into this model. So another thing that I wanted to talk about was just the overall wing dihedral. I'm happy to report on that as well, that it works and the wing is not being supported by the landing gear. And this is a problem that some airplanes do have. I haven't had one have this problem in quite a long time, but sometimes the landing gear actually will support the wheels, or not the wheels, the wing, and that will help provide the dihedral. Now this works, but it's kind of cheating a little bit because the minute you pick up the model, it sags back down, or in some cases may fall off completely. So the wing box on this and the wing structure is very strong. It holds the dihedral very well, and I'm very happy with the outcome of that. So moving out to the way I actually built the wings, I was forced really to use a multiple layered system. So I've done this before. I've used it on the 757. I've used it on, I believe, the B-52, the most recent model I built. And this is the first time I've applied it to a sort of, how do I put this, a narrow body jet that was larger than a 757, we'll just say that. So it worked out pretty well, and I wanted to get really the shape of the airfoil running across the top of the wing. And this was accomplished using tiles, and lots of tiles. I used some of the 2x6 tiles on there as well, and it all works out very well. And for the leading edge, I used 1x3 silver curve slopes to really indicate that this is the unpainted section of the wing. This is the metallic area where the slats would be. And that's a good segue into the control surfaces. Now, unfortunately, since this is a narrow body plane, since this is a relatively smaller wing compared to some of the other wings I've built, I was not able to add all of the control surfaces. However, I did add flaps, and these are usually the ones that I will try to add the most because they really are the most eye-catching things on the plane. They're the biggest, they fall down, they sort of help give the wing its geometry. So I was able to install the flaps, and this is tricky. They were tricky because the trailing edge of the wing has 3 separate angles, and this is different from the older 707s like the 707-120, where the trailing edge of the wing, other than at the root of the plane, is straight. It doesn't really change much, which allows flaps to be pretty easily installed. Whereas on this thing, the trailing edge differs at 3 separate points. Closest to the fuselage, it's 90 degrees, and then it slopes slightly more from there. And then, of course, the final section going to the outboard section of the wings has another angle of measurement, basically. So this was tricky because really no wedge plate would fit that. So I had to sort of come up with my own geometry to get that to work, and it worked pretty well. I had to overlap certain things to hide cracks here and there, but it worked very well. And the flaps are Fowler flaps, which means they fold out and then down, and I used a very similar technique as to what I used on, for instance, the B-52, and this was very difficult because I did not have a lot of room to work with on this. So it was very thin, especially at the wingtips, so I had to get very creative and very efficient with how I used some of the hinges and the sliding mechanisms to get it to work. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for the update on this video. I am looking forward to bringing you more updates into the future on especially the nose and how that progresses, because the nose will be pretty tricky because it's going to have multiple different colors working together and they all have to come together smoothly. I already have a template for how the nose is going to be built on this because I've built previous Boeing narrow bodies, but this is going to be the first time that it's really done with this many different colors. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, keep up to date on that. I will keep you guys up to date on any progress that I make on this model. And again, this is the first time I really use this face-to-face video format, so please let me know in the comment section below if you like it, if you want to see me continue to use this format a little bit more. And if you do, if I get some positive responses to this, I will continue to use it. So yeah, I am looking forward to bringing you guys more updates on the 707 Air Force One as they become available. So that's all I really have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and bye for now.